Jim, that's Warren. You're watching Vendor Corner, brought to you by Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. This is show number 32. Decades is located in Central Florida. If you're ever in our area, drop us a line. Yeah, come visit us or whatever. Maybe we'll even put you on the show as a guest here on Vendor Corner. Yeah, Vendor Corner. That's the name of this show.
It's an unpaid job,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, this show's about being a vendor in a shop like Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. It's a place to discuss topics of our industry or our type of business. So we've got several topics to cover today. Today's topics would include pack it or place it. Can they do any better? And the last one is shift or no shift.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So those are the topics that we're going to discuss today. The first one up is pack it or place it. Most folks don't like a booth that's too cluttered. They don't, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about, pack it and place it. Whether you just pack it in there or you place it in there. So,
Potential customers.
yeah.
Okay.
A booth that restricts their movement. So too cluttered to restrict their movement. Too much stuff in the way, too much stuff on the floor. We've kind of talked about that here at the shop. You know, a lot of vendors will put stuff on the floor, but if you look at it, they're not giving a whole lot of room because, you know, it's just on the floor.
People can't walk.
Yeah, they can't walk in there. So, yeah. They want easy access, and they don't mind digging. So I don't think, I think you place it, but you don't clutter it up so much they can't get through. And I think that was the biggest thing I got out of all this when I was reading all the comments. They don't mind digging. They don't want to go to a booth that looks bare or picked over either. You know, so if you don't have enough stuff in there, they're not going in. But if you've got too much stuff and they can't go in, they're not going in. But a lot of people said they did not mind having a ton of stuff as long as they could get in there. And then adding to that, a lot of people said that they needed something to catch their eye. So a focal point in the booth to bring them in. You can place it or you can pack it, but they have to be able to get in and they got to have something to draw them in. So there you go. So that's it. Place it or pack it. You place it. I kind of pack it.
I try to place it to catch somebody.
Yeah. You gotta have a focal point.
My picture.
Yeah, we have aisles in our shop, and most people go down the same aisle the same way, and you've got to have something on the edge of your booth that makes them want to look in the rest of the booth. So, and a lot of vendors here do that. But yeah, I think the volume is a key because, like I said, a lot of people like digging, but they've got to be able to get in. So we have vendors that they have a ton of stuff, but their access is horrible, and maybe that's why your sales aren't where they need to be.
They don't mind it being on the shelves crowded as much as on
Right,
the floor.
as long as they can walk
yeah,
around, and see everything, yeah. All right, moving on to our second topic. Can they do any better? And this is a customer asking the counter at the shop, can they do any better?
Okay,
basically asking for a discount. Overwhelmingly, I mean really overwhelmingly, the vendors relish the opportunity to make a sale and make a deal. Overwhelmingly. So everybody who said anything about that was, oh yeah, they're ready for the deal. They're ready for the opportunity to make the sale. But that was a one-on-one thing. That's you in the shop talking to a customer. That's me in the shop talking to a customer. I'm open to it. You know what I mean? But a lot has to deal with their approach too.
Oh, yeah.
If they come up and they go, well, does this vendor do any better? And I say, they're negotiable, and it happens to be mine. I recognize my vendor number, and they say, well, it's a $50 item. You think they'll do 15? Well, no. No, you've already destroyed your approach there. But as a store owner and a counter worker, I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. I hate that. I get why people, as a vendor, I like it. As a vendor, when you're here, you would like it. But working the counter and being a store owner, I just hate it. I think it's contagious. I think one customer asks and the others hear, and then they all want a deal on every single item, and we have over 55 different vendors in the shop, and what's the chances of them buying all their items from the same place? It's not going to happen. So it's time consuming, it's hard to reach the vendors, and then the customer, when we can't reach the vendor or we get a no, the customer is pissed. They don't like it. They're angered because we couldn't get a hold of the vendor. They're angered because the vendor wouldn't deal with them. It's very time consuming. We get busy. It's hard to do. I just don't like it. I think the chance that they might say no, and the time it takes to get a hold of a vendor, I just think it would be better saying to begin with that they don't negotiate.
But we have a policy here too, though. If we are in the shop, you can ask.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's
if they're not
what
in
we
the
do
shop,
here in the
yeah.
shop. Yeah, the vendor would be happy to help you if they were in the shop, and they'll say, is that particular vendor here? And we say, no, they're not here right now, or yes, they're right over there. You can go ask them for yourself. Yeah, but that's back to the beginning, that people relish the opportunity to make a sale and to make the deal. But that's a one-on-one thing. But as far as getting the counter to do all that work for you, no, it's contagious. It's very hard to get a hold of people. We won't even get into the negotiation part of that when the customer says, see if they'll do any better, and you're texting a vendor, and the vendor says, okay, let's just say it's a $30 item. And the vendor comes back and says they'll do 20, and then the customer will often say, "We'll see if they'll do 15." Yeah, no, you get one shot at that. Usually, I ask, I go, do you want to make an offer on it?
Right.
And then if I say to them, "Do you want to make an offer on it?" and they say, "No, just see if they'll go any lower." When I get that lower price, or I don't get that lower price, it stops everything. That's it. So like I might call you and say, hey, Warren, you've got a train back here. You got $60 on it. Can you do any lower? And you say, yeah, I'll do 50 on it. All right, thanks. See ya. Goodbye. Hang up the phone with you and tell the customer, well, he said he'd do 50 on it. And they well, see if he'll do 40. No, not doing that. You get one shot.
Right. Yeah, you can't get in the middle.
No,
of
we're not going to get into negotiation. Yeah, so it's very, very difficult. Like I said, that when we do it, which we do it on occasion, it's massively time consuming. You get vendors on the phone, that are, oh, well, see if this, and see, they want to negotiate, and you're like, no, we can't do that. Just give me your best price, and we'll move on from there. But yeah. So I just think to begin with, it would be easier just to say they don't negotiate. We have several vendors that don't negotiate, and when I say they don't negotiate, the customer's okay with it. A lot of times they buy the item anyways, but I just think as a general rule, it's just easier to do that. And if we're really busy, and often, even if I think the vendor might negotiate, I say they won't, because we need to move on.
Right.
We
Yep.
don't have the time right then and there. All right, our last topic of the evening is shift or no shift. The real question I put out to everybody was, did you have to do a shift in your store as part of your contract? And if you did, what were the duties, responsibilities, and the benefits? I wanted all that, not just to know as far as, people doing shifts or not. But as a general rule, it was an even split of people who were required to do a shift, or I won't say required, people who did a shift, and then people who didn't. The ones that didn't do shifts were adamant about not doing the shift. They really were. They said that they wouldn't be in a store or a mall if it was required. Those people did. Yeah. It was an even split. But those that didn't do shifts, they didn't just say, no, my shop doesn't require it. They said, no, my shop doesn't require it. I would not be in a mall or a shop that did require it. They were adamant about that. I found that very interesting. The biggest difference came with those who did a shift. So that's where we're going to focus right now, those who did a shift. Some were required to work, some, required to volunteer, however you want to put it. The responsibilities was for both groups was generally the same. and this is interesting, they ran the store. So the ones that did a shift, whether they were volunteers or they were required to do it, ran the store. This is including running the counter, bathrooms, climbing ladders, and I'm taking this all from the question I had asked online. Cabinets, dealing with holds, wrapping stuff, just everything. They did it all. Those that were required to work, as well as those that were volunteers, were all compensated through rent reduction. Here at Decades Reclaim Vintage Depot, the vendors are required to do a shift. You can't call it a rent reduction, but if you don't do a shift, you're penalized, financially penalized here at Decades. So it's kind of the same thing. The time they spent varied, with most of them doing multiple days. We're only required to do like half a day, but most of them are required to do multiple days. Most, besides the rent reduction, most found it beneficial to interact with customers and see what was selling. So they thought it was a big benefit when they were working. They could see, they can interact with the customers and they can see what's selling. We've always kind of said that. When you're here on shift, you can see how people interact with your booth. You know, you can watch them. Are they walking in? Are they just kind of poking their head in? Is there not enough to draw them in? Can they not get through easily? All those things. There's a benefit in that. And then you get to interact with the customer. Big benefit in that. And then you get to see what's selling. And, you know, in our business, everybody always wants to know what is trending and what is selling. And that's a big thing. That's a big plus to doing a shift. And then that's it for that. I mean, I like the volunteer model with the rent reduction and then the shop being run by those people. I'm seriously going to have to think about it. I mean, they're running the whole shop. You know, here at Decades, we have we have a few vendors that are high up on the food chain that do run it. But for the most part, I'm here 7 days a week. You know, it would be nice to have the vendors run it. And then I did read a comment, and somebody said, well, I'm not sure I want just anybody, you know, ringing it or handling the money or whatever. Well, the money's kind of on the shop. I can kind of see what they are saying about that. If somebody just, you know, takes one of your items, pops a tag off of it and tells the customer, have a good day, you know, that wouldn't be good. But, I mean, at the end of the day, somebody's doing it, you know. So you got to trust somebody. We have vendors here that do it. They do run the shop on occasion when I'm not here, and I trust them. So I mean, that's a trust issue, I guess, for most people. But that's it. So when in closing, yeah, let's just kind of recap real quickly. We had pack it or place it. I think pack it and place it. Just make sure that people can get in your booth, and there's a reason for going in your booth. And number two, what was number two? You're supposed to remember that.
I'm supposed to, right. Okay.
Can they do any better? The negotiation. It's great for a vendor and a customer one-on-one. Not so great for the store to have to handle that. Too much going on for that to be done on a regular basis. We do it on slower days, but yeah, don't get me started on all that. And then the shift or not shift. The majority of it's a split between people who do them and people who don't do them. Those that don't do them would never do them. Those that do them see a lot of benefit in it and would continue to do so. I can imagine somebody like, you know, working their whole entire rent off here at the shop, working multiple days. That'd be kind of cool, you know? Yeah. So
Something to think about.
Something to think about. Yeah. All right, I'm Jim. That's Warren. You've been watching Vendor Corner.
Yeah.
We have two shows, and I get messed up sometimes and say the other show name, but Vendor Corner here on YouTube. We come to you every other Sunday night at 8 p.m. We're not going to restart the show. It's ending. It's over.
You don't want to do it over again?
No, I don't want to do it over again. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Say goodbye, Warren.
Say goodbye, Warren.
No, it's still going.
Oh, geez.
Here we go. We got that thing sometimes where the mouse doesn't want to work.
Oh, okay. We done now?
We're done, but it's not stopped.
Oh,